Welcome back to the morning show on WRCO Radio here as we shift gears a little bit. And we've got some folks in the studio. The Ithaca School District is facing a referendum coming up on November 5th. And we have some residents who've requested a little time here today. In the studio, we have Jenny Lau, we have Pat McGee, we have Ashley Martinick Kramer joining us here on the WRCO airwaves in the studio, talking about the upcoming referendum. Well, Jenny, I think I've known you the longest. I'll start with you. So thanks for coming into the studios today.
You're welcome, Phil. It's good to be here.
You come in because this is an important thing to you personally.
It is. I'm here because I want Ithaca to continue. It's important to me that this referendum passes and that we go forward and continue the legacy and everything that Ithaca has to offer.
Your children came through there. Your parents came through there, right?
So actually, all of my siblings, there were 7 of us, and we all came through Ithaca and graduated. And then I have 3 daughters, Jessica, Val, and Josie. And so they all went to Ithaca. Josie just graduated last year. So now I'm an empty nester, but I still feel strongly about what Ithaca has to offer and that we should maintain a strong school.
And your daughters, one is in college, but they've all gone on to do great things after their education there.
Yes, so Jessica went on to Viterbo, and she is now a nurse at UW Hospital in Madison, and so that's a very intense job that she has there. And then Valerie went to UW La Crosse, and she graduated with a marketing degree, and she is also in Madison right now. And so she's working for a small firm that puts in piers on lake shores. And then Josie is now at South Dakota State University, and she's attending that and college rodeoing. So she's in her freshman year.
Indeed. So, sometimes when people's children get out of school, you think, okay, well, I don't have to worry about it anymore. But that's not the case. You want other people coming after you to do well, too, right?
I do. I think one of the biggest assets are the kids. And I think Ithaca, I just want to say, every kid wants to belong. And I think that is one of the main things that Ithaca has to offer, not just the strong academic offerings that it has, but everything that you get, from the sports to the clubs to the organizations. When I look back, some of my life skills and life lessons I learned during forensics, the FFA is just very strong in what they could do, and there's just so much dedication all the way down from administration to the teachers, to the staff, even the kitchen help. Everyone cares about the kids at Ithaca, and I can't stress that enough, that they make you feel important and valued, and we need each kid on all of the teams. And it's just that being able to participate and feel valued and wanted, I think that's what instills confidence in kids.
There are more opportunities, especially for extracurriculars, aren't there? There
are. You are never turned away. I cannot recall a time when a kid was turned away from a sports team or an extracurricular. If you want to be on the yearbook, or if you want to be in FBLA, in band, choir, whatever your interests are, the art club, there are so many opportunities at Ithaca. And if you show that interest, then you can be on that team. And so I have to also mention the Wisconsin Interscholastic Horse Association, which is the horse club. So that's a little bit different, and I coach that. And so we just have so much to offer at Ithaca that the kids can seek whatever they are interested in.
And that's a relatively new club, the horse club, within the last many years. You didn't have that when you were in high school.
That's true. I think it was founded in 2013, and Valerie took place in that, and Josie did. And so that is a great venue because it stretches. We've done a lot of showing, but that venue stretches your comfort zone a little bit and really opens the doors to some other disciplines that you might not do otherwise.
Your family farm recently hosted the Ithaca Fair Horse Show. How did that go?
It went well. We had high school kids. We had a few adults that participated. We had middle school, and then we had the little tiny tots, which were 4K through the 3rd grade.
And you had good weather for it too. So
yes, it was this has been one of the best falls, and we had a beautiful day for it.
I know that speaking of Ithaca staff, when you came through in the 1980s, you had staff there that were just very dedicated. You really benefited from the education that you got too, right?
They really did. I felt like they impacted, and that if there was something that was bothering, one of the kids, whether it was myself or a teammate, I felt like they really reached out to us individually and could pick that up in the classroom and at practice, that the people really cared and went above and beyond to ask if there was something going on or if you needed help with something. That's what really stood out in my mind.
And it's still like that, I think, isn't it?
Yes, I think so too. I think that people reach out, whether it's a coach, whether it's another teacher, whether it's a parent of another student. I can't say enough how many other parents came up after games, after practices, when maybe a game didn't go as well individually for one of the girls, and just encouraged them and, just patted them on the back and told them they did a great job and reinforced. And coming from another parent, that means more than if I would have said it.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Ashley Kramer joins us as well. Ashley, I was at the volleyball on Saturday night at Ithaca covering that, and I think this happens a lot, but I walk down the hall and there are people admiring all the pictures of all the graduates on the wall. You have some family members that are in those pictures, I'm sure, don't you?
I do. I have my mom is on the wall. I have my Uncle Steve and Gary. I have cousins, Crystal, Kelly, Brett. I mean, I have a strong family tradition now with Ithaca, and I was just so excited to. We love walking down the hall with my kindergartner and looking at those pictures because they're really fun to just see how things have changed over the years.
Yes, indeed. Hairstyles too, and everything.
And come back.
Well, tell us a little bit about your story and why you're back in the district.
Yeah, so my husband and I moved back, I guess 5 years ago now. And when we started our family, we knew we wanted a small community to raise our family in. Having heard, I'm a graduate of Richland Center, so I won't get much shade there, but having known that my cousins had such a strong tie to their school, knowing that there is a strong sense of community, it feels safe. That was something that really kind of drew us back to this area. We have, those Midwest values, being Midwest nice, helping your neighbors, coming together as a community. So when my daughter, we were looking for schooling, we wanted small class sizes. We wanted some people that we could reach out to as our neighbors to say, hey, I'll, pitch in. You need somebody to pick your kid up? I got that. Or, you know what? I know just the teacher for that to help with some tutoring. Just that sense of community that you don't get in a bigger area really is very important, not only to myself, but I think for my child's education and future.
And you have a child, you said, in the district?
I have a daughter. She's 5. Aislinn is in kindergarten, and she loves school. As soon as we went to daycare out past Ithaca, and every day we would pass Ithaca, and she'd say, is it time for me to go to school yet? And I'd say, no, not yet. You've got a year. You've got 2 years. So she said, I want to be a bulldog. I love everything about Ithaca. I'm like, you haven't even been in the building. It's okay. So I think that's exactly where she needs to be.
When you were asked to step up and join us here on the morning show, what was your reaction, or I guess what was your
I was
feeling?
Excited about it because I do think that we need to continue these strong, foundations for our children. I grew up with, stories from my mother talking about even riding the bus with you, Phil, and having conversations about the time that she had at Ithaca. And, it's one of those things that we need to continue. That's where we're at with that.
And you're just starting your journey as a parent with a student in school.
Starting the journey, yeah. Marty said, can you help? And I said, well, I absolutely can. I'm part of the PTSO. I'm very excited about that because I think our teachers make all the difference. If our young people can be inspired about education at a young age with, small class sizes and being involved, they're going to have the best education because they want to be at school. They want to be with their peers. And that's huge. That's the foundation, really, of life. We need to get them excited about those things. I know most of the kids' parents that are in my kids' class. We have, different chat groups to say, like, what are you doing with this? Or can you help with the trunk or treat that we just hosted the other night? And I love that. That is something that you don't get in bigger communities and something that is so unique to Ithaca.
How did the trunk or treat go, by the way?
It went amazing. We had a fantastic turnout. I think the top 3 trunks, we had like 90 plus votes between, which trunk would be best. So you only get to vote once. So we had a huge turnout, considering, it's a relatively new event. The PTSO did a fantastic job. We've got some more activities coming up, and we just want to support the students, the staff, and Ithaca in general.
That's the whole goal of PTSO, because at any school, it's very important. The districts just can't do it on their own, can they?
They can't. And you need a strong parent showing, which is something that I think Ithaca really does well. The parents want to be involved, and I think the school does a good job of making parents feel included and part of the education. There's a really good back and forth conversation that happens where, once you get to a little bigger school, you kind of lose out on that feeling of I matter and my kid counts. So the PTSO kind of just brings it all together for me, something that I'm excited about.
Pat McGee's in the studio as well. Pat, you were an outsider. You can't talk about your Ithaca roots or pictures on the wall down the hall, other than you have some children that may be in some of those pictures.
Yeah, we are sometimes referred to as foreigners, but
but you've been here a few years.
We've been here since 1999 in the Ithaca district, and we intentionally bought in the district because while I was here initially working at the foundry, everybody told me you want your kids to go to Ithaca. We did our research. We looked at all the schools in the area, and Ithaca by far we thought would give a better experience to our kids. And having seen my daughter's in her 30s, all my kids are in their 30s. Man, I'm getting old.
How'd that happen?
I fell asleep for a long time. But they're all doing really well. They got a really good basic education at Ithaca that taught them critical thinking, analysis, how to solve problems, which is everyday use. And they've all done very well having come from Ithaca, which is one of the reasons why my wife and I have always supported Ithaca.
You, from the standpoint of not only a business owner, but a former board member, you kind of understand maybe the dollar signs involved more than most people. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. A lot of people get confused when we talk about equalization aid and revenue limits, and they all go hand in hand. Unfortunately, the equalization aid formula is very complicated, and it's based on student enrollment. There's partial students, which is, I'm sorry, but your kid might be a half a kid, I guess. But this was put into place by the state back in after Act 10. Prior to Act 10, Tommy Thompson had put together a plan to keep from having so many school strikes and labor strikes. And he required, it was called the QEO, which is a qualified economic offering, where total package increases for staff could be over 3.5%, which held down taxes, held down school cost. But it was quickly found out in the early 2000s that healthcare costs were going up 22 and 23%, and that came out of teacher salaries. So the second year of the contract, they were literally losing salary because of the way the formula was written. Then we came to Act 10 and things changed. And Ithaca, to its credit, because then it became an open market. So math teachers, music teachers, special ed teachers, they could literally go to any school they wanted and double their salaries. Ithaca and the board, of which I was part of, and I'm proud to say I was part of the board, we worked really hard at trying to maintain and retain teachers by giving them a competitive salary, but also, and more importantly, the advantage of working in a school where their voices are heard, administration will listen to them, and they're safe. And you don't get that in a lot of schools. So when you go to a school like Ithaca, we always said that Ithaca the community and Ithaca the school are the same thing. You really can't separate them. And the way to see that is go to any homecoming football game and watch the population of Ithaca boom to 1,500 to 2,000 people for a district that is really small. and very spread out. So there's a lot to be said for a small school like Ithaca and what it can offer.
With the way that schools are funded, that's certainly an issue because there are a lot of referendums coming up on Tuesday the 5th. But I think that's probably part of the issue is that less people paying the freight and things like that. So those are some things that you have to look at, right?
When you look at the cost of a school district like Ithaca, one, other than Oakwood Fruit Farm, we don't have any business in Ithaca.
Right.
We have very small mom and pop shops and businesses like mine. We don't really have a big tax base. And even though we have a lot of farms, that's a lot of land. It's not a lot of income for taxes. So a school like Ithaca, and this is part of the state funding issue that has always been a big issue. Smaller schools, because it's based on enrollment and the equalization aid and the tax base, don't get the funding that they really require. Because you still have a building to operate, you still have buses to run, and whether you're contracting your bus service or you have it in-house, you still have to pay for it. You've got teacher salaries, teacher benefits, all your staff, in order to try and educate students. Now, a big school district, if you take a Milwaukee or Madison, they have a huge tax base. So when their taxes go up because they're doing a referendum, and virtually every school in Wisconsin right now, I think there's 435 school districts, most of them are going to referendum right now because they're not getting the state funding. And without that state funding, you still have to pay for everything. So what they're doing is the state is taking state tax money, and instead of giving it to the public schools, they're forcing it onto the residents. And in Ithaca, because it's a small district, it hits hard. There's nothing we can do about that. You either want to have a school and you're willing to pay your taxes, or sometimes schools dissolve, and we don't want that for Ithaca. It's too nice a district. It serves so many people. Jenny was commenting, if your kid goes to Ithaca, they guaranteed, virtually guaranteed, can be in any program they want to be in. And they don't cut on sports. They don't charge for sports, whereas some local school districts do. Extracurriculars are wonderful. You can be involved in so many different clubs at Ithaca. If you're a student and you go to Ithaca and you have a hard time fitting in, that's it's tough. Kids do that. But you also have staff that'll help you out and look out for you. And big districts, they struggle with that. So I really think we need to support the Ithaca district.
Haven't gone to referendum since you were on the school board either.
And that was for a building because the elementary was built in the early 60s. And it wasn't built well, but there were a lot of issues with it that needed to be done. And we were either going to spend a lot of money to completely redo that elementary, or we were going to build a new one. And by building a new one, we were able to make sure that we could keep our class sizes down to around 20 or less students in a class. And with the number of aides we have in the classroom, these students are getting a lot of one-on-one instruction. That goes a long way, especially when you're younger. Reading, writing, arithmetic. Teach it to them when they're young. They'll know how to do it when they're older.
Indeed. So you're encouraging people to vote yes, Ashley, coming up on November 5th.
Yeah, absolutely.
Indeed. In terms of reasons why, you've kind of spelled that out pretty well. But
the idea of community is huge. We want our children. I'm just getting started with kindergarten. A woman that works in my office, her little guy's in 4K, and she said, we have to have this passed. She already voted yes. She's in district. She already voted yes because she knows this is the legacy that we're leaving. We need Ithaca to continue, not because we, have any other reason other than it's a great school. It's got great teachers. It's got wonderful students. The community is huge. The sports are fantastic. Right now they're in a great spot. Like we want it to continue. We need Ithaca to stay. And I feel like that's the name of the game.
Tax impact is the big question. I know you guys have a big family farm, Jenny, but you feel it's worth it.
We do. We have a farm. We have actually some our family farm, and then we have additional land up on Little Willow. And so there is going to be a tax impact for us. But I feel like the kids are worth it. We've touched on everything Ithaca has to offer, but the end result is that we have good students, good employees then when they get out in the workforce. We have good volunteers. We have students that want to give back. And I think, working concessions and doing all those things that at Ithaca they learn to volunteer. They learn to work alongside of their parents in those situations. And I think that service back to the community, if that's one of the reasons Ithaca is so strong, is that alumni believe in this school. We come back, our families believe, the grandpas and grandmas and aunts and uncles are all behind those students in helping them to succeed. It's not just the staff at Ithaca, it's the whole community, and that's what makes us special, is that everyone, whether they're a neighbor or down the road that doesn't have a kid in Ithaca right now, we all care about each other and we all want the students to succeed. So yes, to me, I feel that tax impact is definitely worth putting into the students.
Anything you'd like to add, Pat?
Yes, I like to tell people that worry about the tax impact, and I try to explain to them, you can pay the tax now to go to a really good cause, which is the Ithaca School District, and get your kids educated, get them a diploma, get them ready for life. Or you can go ahead and let the kids fail, and then somebody's going to be paying for that for a long time. So let's take care of the kids now while they have a chance and they can be successful.
All right. Thanks for coming in today, you guys. We appreciate it. Pat McGee, Jenny Lau, and Ashley Kramer on this portion of the morning show. Again, Election Day, if you didn't know, is coming up next week on the 5th of November. Also wanted to mention that there are 2 spectator buses for the Friday upcoming playoff football game at Johnson Creek. There will be a student bus. There will be a community bus. And for community folks, you can call the school at 608-585-2311 to get your name on the dotted line. The buses will leave Friday afternoon at 4:30 for Johnson Creek.